So here we are with a stock exhaust, and we're going to be documenting a stage 2 build start to finish. So this is what you start off with: stock muffler, and I'll lower it down. I'm going to show you guys the top end. And here we are on the top side: stock muffler, stock engine setup. So we'll show you the stage 2 as it gets built. So Jason is about 4 hours into this teardown. Intake's off, exhaust system's off, valve covers are off, timing covers are off. Timing cover, I should say, is off. So there's the bottom side for you, and going up to the top side. So here we are top side. So you can see definitely intake off, left, right valve covers off, timing cover off. And Jason's making great progress, not messing around on this one. So try to update you as it continues to get torn down and built back up. Valve covers getting their gaskets stripped is what Jason's working on right now. Timing covers next. Pulling the head gaskets off of this thing. As you can see, both heads are off. We checking for a little wiggle in the liners. Now this is just kind of procedural because this one we did see a small amount of coolant in the oil before we tore this down, so these jugs are coming out and those are going to get resealed as well. Walk over here to the bench, and heads are pulled. Of course, these heads will not be going back on. It'll get heads that have been ported and polished, and then a camshaft that has a more aggressive grind on it. So, but there's the rest of the progress for today. Jason's got the car pretty far stripped down, and we're gonna go pull the pan and get the pistons and liners out.
All right, so Jason, what do you got going on here exactly?
We're going to anaerobic the sealing surface where the paper gasket, the new paper gasket, is going to sit inside the block.
Okay, so anaerobic sealant. We're going to put the gasket on there.
We're going to paint both sides of the gasket with anaerobic. So it's going to have a bed underneath of it and on top of it.
So over the weekend, clearly Grand Rapids had the Ice Hawks number. They dropped the
Okay, so there's our paper gasket.
And there's my mark where I know with my tab is not going to be interrupted inside the motor, inside the short block.
Yep, there's a little tab there on the gasket. We don't want that to get folded over on the motor when we put it back in on the block.
There is a groove in the liner where this is going to final sit, and it slots into it. There's a cut groove into the liner where this will sit. And then it'll sit flat once it's in the groove. Some assembly lube
On the bearing.
and both riding surfaces inside the motor.
That is your connecting rod there.
Same thing. My protective sleeves so I don't scratch the journal on the crank.
Yep, that's just added protection.
For install, so no damage happens to the journal.
Marks on it in the journal. Yep.
nifty ladder.
Okay, I'm gonna come over here. So we have the cylinders and the jugs all out, or the pistons and the jugs all out of this motor right now, replacing the jug seals.
Now I'm gonna rotate my motor around where my crank journal is happy.
The crankshaft spinning inside the motor.
Where I have a happy upper position so I can mate the assembly to the journal, and then I'll rotate it down and install the cap. My tab is in the right position in the corner where I want it. A little bit turn. That's in.
Okay.
Now, so I can rotate it around underneath without worrying about the position of what I just did. It gets locked down. Then I can move it freely underneath and install my cap and not worry about this falling out of position. Now let's mount the cap. Now I'm going to rotate and push the piston down.
Okay, you can see the crankshaft spinning in there.
Push the piston down.
Down. Okay, you got your studs there now.
Make sure my bearing hasn't moved out of position, which it hasn't. Pay attention to my cap orientation. Flat, flat, out, out. The profile of the cap is flat. Where it mates up to the other one is flat. Set both nuts, 35 foot-pounds, and then we're done. I always bounce back and forth and snugging. I don't know why.
One click at 35 pounds, two click at 35 pounds.
We're
All
good.
right, that's how you reinstall a piston and a jug.
Rotation is good. No bind ups. Good install.
On to the next one.
So I'm just going to give you a quick walkthrough of what's done to the stock heads before we bolt these on as a stage 2. So this is a 456 head, or the left side head. And what happens to these is first the decking gets reground. So that's nice flat surface where it meets the block. You get porting and polishing of the 3 intake ports. There is porting and polishing of the 3 exhaust ports. There's a full grind of the valves, as well as new valve stem seals get put in. And then along with this, we would put a more aggressive grind on the camshaft that gives you more lift and duration, just to really help the engine breathe better. You're getting more air in, more air out. So this in combination with the Stage 1 exhaust, that's a higher flow exhaust, and the cams that we already mentioned, these heads and that combination really just helps the engine breathe better, and that's where the power comes from. So there's just a quick rundown of the difference with these heads. Another update on this Stage 2 build. Jason's been making good progress once again. Look, we got the heads on. Car has been fully timed. Chains are on. Oil pump drive is on. We're going to show you how to check that with the timing marks for the cam timing. Spin around here and I'm showing you this was delaying us a bit, but the covers finally came back from powder coat. So this is a near chrome, kind of an aluminum finish, just like a clean engine we like to do. So that was delaying us, so we can get moving forward on this. Again, get those covers on. And I'm going to show you guys quickly cam timing. So it's set right head first, and then left head is typically how we do it. And if you see, try to get you guys in here to see. Get my trusty. So here we got timing marks on the right side passenger head, and you can see here yellow mark on the chain, another yellow mark on the chain, and then there's a little dash on the cam gear that shows you the timing mark up at the cam gear. I'm going to come over here and show you the one down on the crank. This one's kind of hard to see, but I'm going to do my best to get you guys in here. And you can see your yellow mark on the inside chain here, again, the right side chain. And if you look, it's going to be really hard to see right now, but there is a mark on the gear there. See that dash line right down here? Right there, that little dash on the gear is what we're looking for to line up. That one doesn't have one on the side. It should line up directly with the yellow mark on the chain. So that one looks good. Then we'll rotate this around to check the left side. You can kind of see, we'll watch this cam gear as I turn it here. Here we've got a good shot of the left-hand marks, so you can see the yellow, and then in between we've got the mark on the gear. So we're good there. We'll go down low and show you the last one onto the crank mark again. And we can see that over here. We've got the yellow mark on the chain right there. That lines up with you can see the dash mark just inside here on the gear. So we're happy with our chain timing, the cams. Next we'll be adjusting the valves, dropping in the distributor. Then we can get our intake and covers on and make this thing look like an engine again. Get that Stage 1 exhaust on there to make this a full Stage 2, and build's going pretty well. So I've got Jason here with me, and we're going to be doing just a quick valve adjustment here. We got 10 out of the 12 adjusted. We're going to do one intake and one exhaust just to show you. And these are, pretty simple. They got a lock nut you crack loose that's 13. And then they just have a, flathead screwdriver to adjust them. So on the intake, should be 4 thousandths. And on the exhaust, it should be 10. And you're just fishing the feeler gauge in there until there's just a little drag on this guy. You can, pull it back and forth. Shouldn't be super tight. Jason's already got that intake done.
Checking
Double checking it.
Little drag.
Little drag. Like that? Okay. And, the reason these are at 4 thousandths and 10 thousandths is basically because the exhaust side being so much hotter, it's going to expand roughly 6 thousandths more. You'll get some expansion out of the intake and about 6,000 more out of the exhaust because of the heat. And so 4,000ths and 6,000ths, or I'm sorry, 4,000ths on the intake and 10,000ths on the exhaust is the measurement you want regardless of what cam you have. These are stage 2 cams going in here, and really the heat is not different on a stock car or a stage 1 or a stage 2 or whatever camshaft you have. So because of that expansive heat relationship, you're always looking for 4 and 10. There has been some misconception saying that you want to go larger to avoid valve float, which is wrong. The way to avoid valve float, if it were an issue, valve float is typically an issue when you're balancing a motor and you're increasing the amount of RPM that can go to a motor. But valve float is also solved by a stiffer spring to keep the valve. Basically what happens with the valve is it can fling on the lobe so much that it actually separates and floats open and doesn't make contact with the rocker doesn't make contact with the valve all the time. It flings it so hard, you can see it here, it flings it so hard that the valve goes down and doesn't stay in contact with the cam lobe on this side. So that's not a proper way to eliminate valve float if that's a concern.
We're done here.
So it's already got that exhaust side done. There you go, 4 and 10. So here we are with the final product on this stage 2 build. I'm going to reiterate here, this has had ceramic coating of the exhaust, you can see down here, and engine dress, which is powder coating of the intake, valve covers, W-pipe, and timing cover, as well as all the brackets and bolts get replaced. So it's a decent looking engine, and we're going to do a startup here for you guys to let you hear it. So go ahead and start it up. She's sounding a little meaner. Give us a rev.